All right, guys, welcome. Let me know if you guys can hear me as you jump in. This is the first time I'm using this Riverside as a means to do live video. So let me know if it's working, if you guys can hear me. A message in the chat. Let me know what's going on, guys. Let me know what's happening. Hopefully everyone can hear me all right. Hey, Classical Sinai. Hello, Lana Dancer. Hello, Macy. How's everyone doing tonight? Hope everyone is having an awesome evening, or wherever you are. Everyone can hear me all right. Cool. So welcome back. I haven't done a live video in quite a while. It's been a little while, and probably there's going to be a bit of a delay from what I am getting to where you guys are, so I will obviously wait for any questions that come up. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things today that I thought were kind of important, as well as if you have any questions about stuff that you guys would like to ask about, just don't ask me if I want to fight a crocodile or a bear. That was weird last time. Hello from Washington D.C. Awesome, welcome. I lived there for almost 6 years. Okay, so the Athletistry Community, guys, that just launched. So I'll just type this in here. Go check it out, guys. The Athletistry Community. Check out that link. It will take you to the website to join. It's very bare at the moment, but I'm going to be adding lots of content over the coming weeks. One of the reason why I wanted to get in and do this as a community for you guys is I find that on Instagram, there's a limit to how well I can communicate with you. There's a limit to the length of video and what you guys see. Like if I do a longer video, for example, it's either going to be a live like this, or it's not going to get sent out to a bunch of people. So my goal was obviously to create a community where the people that want more in-depth content can come along, join in, and then obviously there's going to be some paid stuff as well. I'm keeping it free for the first 100 people, but 66 people have already joined in the last 24 hours. So if you want to get in there, jump on that link that I posted up above. Otherwise, I think the goal, I'm going to run the first challenge that's coming up is a 30-day penché challenge. It's going to be pretty cool. There might be some prizes in there that you can win as well. Every day there'll be a different workout that you can go to help you to improve your penché. But it's going to be a lot of fun to get in and explore this stuff with you guys. So when it comes to other things that are happening, I had this crazy thought the other day. And that's why I posted the reel I posted earlier, and then got into this massive discussion about hats. Anyway, I had this thought the other day. It's like I've got almost 89,000 followers now, and like if everyone donated $1, I'd be able to pretty well organize the launch of a school, which would be pretty cool. Now, obviously, there's a lot that would go into that, and it wouldn't happen overnight. It would take lots of time. But then I started to think, well, I've got this $5 foot program that I offer, which has all kinds of foot exercises to help dancers. And I thought, okay, well, even if like half the people that follow me purchased the $5 foot program, again, the funds would go towards opening up that school. So, thought some pretty cool. That was a pretty cool idea. Obviously, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think that's something I would like to do going into the future, is to open my own space. I think hopefully you guys think as well that I have some good stuff to offer. But who knows? Anyway, ask me some questions, guys. Ask me what it is that is you're thinking about. I mean, what do you guys think of the hat? Should I keep the hat? Should I not keep the hat? So far, the poll on my stories is about 92% saying keep the hat, 9% or 8% saying get rid of it. So there's like 8 people out there that don't like my hat. Sorry, guys. I think I'm going to keep the hat. But what do you guys think? Should I keep the hat? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Should I keep the hat? Thank you. I appreciate that. Offering great information. Keep the hat, add the sunnies. Well, I don't have my sunnies here, but I can put on my my blue light glasses. They're a bit funky looking. I don't think I'll keep those on. But no, it's funny. It's funny what people get caught up on. Like I think it's interesting because for me, like the hat, as much as like it's partially there to catch sweat so it doesn't get in my eyes when I'm sitting in my garage doing whatever, it's kind of become an iconic thing where like I remember walking into the studio at one of the schools I teach at last year, and they were like, "Where's your hat?" Like it had become such a common thing to see the hat, and like I'll even make jokes about it. Like I'll pull it around and I'll pull it forward sometimes. If I'm like, guys, that could have been better. We could have done that better. But it's all playful. It's all in good fun. So I think most people think I should keep the hat. And then someone messages me after I did that, after I pulled up that comment, and they said, "Oh, you should wear all types of different hats. Like get a Viking hat with horns, and get like I don't know, like they had like wigs that they were telling me to get. It was pretty funny. People were messaging me about the hat. So yeah, good times. I'm not wearing blue tonight. Maybe green is a better color. But I don't think the people that were telling me that blue was not my color are watching tonight. It doesn't seem like the same crazy crowd we had a couple weeks ago for that live. Cool, guys. Ask me some questions. Now, I know I'll have to wait a couple of seconds. So as the questions come through, I will see what I can answer. Buy me a magician's hat. That doesn't mean that I'll be more magic, Holly. Is it possible for adults to work on a 180-degree penché? Sure. Why not? I mean, potentially, there could be some restrictions to mobility. The older you get, it could become more difficult. It doesn't mean it's not possible. If you can get yourself into a flat split, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to then do a penché. It's going to require some more strength, obviously, in your back and in your body to be able to hold that without the ground pushing you into that position. But there's no reason why I would think that you couldn't get to that place. What is my opinion on fake arches? Don't wear them. They're gross. It's not necessary. Most people can tell that they're not real. And I remember one time. So I have very archy feet, right? And it's I've actually had people say, "Are your arches fake?" over the years, and no, they're not. They are very real. But I did have one of my dressing room mates had a pair of fake arches, and so I decided to put them on to see what they would look like, and it was just ridiculous. Like it doesn't look real. It doesn't actually really enhance the line of your leg. And what you want to be achieving, guys, is a nicely pointed foot that lines up beautifully with your body, right? So if you're faking that line, you're not actually showing who you are. You're showing some alternative ideal, and it's not actually I think healthy or a necessary option. Yeah, show your best self, not some fake foam arches on top of that. Yeah. What other questions you got, guys? Let me scroll back. Maybe I missed something. You never know. Everyone's saying Saturday nights are way quieter than Friday nights, I find, for live videos. Everyone's doing their family stuff or out for the evening. And I know people are jumping in from all over the world, but that is cool as well. What are your challenges at the moment, guys? What are you struggling with? Because one of the things that obviously that I want to do in the new community is to offer like more tutorials and guides and stuff that are more in depth than what I can get into in social media on like on Instagram, for example, where you got to kind of keep it under a minute and a half in order to get it seen. And it's very hard to explain anything in ballet in under a minute and a half. So more in-depth tutorials and guides are definitely on their way. How did I manage the fact of quitting ballet? I'm getting older and soon I'll have to do it. Still can't get used to the idea. It was really tough. It was unexpected. For me, it was not an easy choice. My contract was ended basically. Like I was 30 years old. My contract I was basically told was not going to be renewed. And I had a 1-year-old daughter, and my wife was still on maternity leave. So for me, it was even harder, especially because living in Australia, I'm not a native Australian. So I was here on a visa. So I had to pay a lot of money to get my permanent residence visa. I had to retrain as a personal trainer. And then I had to figure out how to make that work. And so, yeah, it's not easy. I mean, if you have something to move into relatively quickly, like if you have teaching opportunities, or if you're educated in something that can, be a second career, but it is going to be a definite transition period, and it's not easy. I think exactly what you're doing now, reaching out to other people who have been through that process, can definitely help. But yeah, it's not an easy process to manage the end of a dance career. What are my thoughts on competitions, local, national, overseas? Um, Probably a little bit of a controversial opinion, in all honesty. I was actually just talking with my wife about this the other day. So while competitions can be a fantastic opportunity to learn and to see other dancers your age and even slightly older, the preparation process is valuable because you're learning repertoire, you're working more in depth, potentially one-on-one with a coach. The learning experience is definitely there. What I have found lately with competitions and with the competition space, especially the big ones, you're starting to see a lot more like trying to one up the previous generation, right? So doing more pirouettes, doing bigger tricks, doing more outlandish things to grab the attention of the audience and the judges. And I think as a result of that, because that is what is being most presented on social media, on YouTube, for the next generation to see, we're losing some of the quality of the art to that over the top, almost gymnastic-like quality in dance. Now, that's not to say that competitions don't afford an amazing opportunity, right? So there are a lot of incredible competitions out there that have scholarships on offer that get you exposure to decision makers within the industry that can help you along in your career, to getting opportunities, to getting into pre-professional schools, to getting into companies. So that's not to say that competitions don't have their value. I think realistically, what matters most is that when you do go out to a competition, that you're presenting your best. You don't want to just enter a competition just for the sake of entering. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of preparation. And you want to, when you are putting yourself on stage, you want to present the best work that you can possibly do. How can you get rid of Achilles pain if you have Achilles tendonitis? Rest, see a physio, follow their protocols, and then once you are cleared for it, come see a personal trainer like myself or someone who does dance conditioning to get stronger. It is going to take time. It's going to take recovery, especially if you're dealing with tendonitis or stress-related injuries or overuse injuries. You got to give yourself time to recover. You got to give your body time to rest, because your body is basically saying there's too much going on. There's inflammation, and as a result, you're not getting enough healing time for your body, and it's just going to continue to get worse unless you give yourself that time to heal. So I think, guys, when it comes to injuries, when it comes to anything that you're dealing with that is physically related, ailment related, and you are needing to take care of that, you need to see the appropriate medical practitioner to make that happen. So probably starting with a doctor. Like if you're having consistent problems in an area, start with a doctor, get imaging done, get a diagnosis, get a referral if necessary to see a specialist in that field. So if it's someone who is going to be, an expert at working with knees because you have a knee injury, or ankles because you have an ankle injury, work with the specialists in the field, get the work done with a physio to help you to recover from that injury, and then work with a exercise physiologist or a personal trainer or fitness professional, someone who can help you to then, once you're healed, maintain and improve the strength in your body to reduce future risk of injury, and also to help you with planning and tracking and making sure that you're not overtraining, because that is something that the dance industry doesn't yet have a lot of care for. They're not going to slow down your work just because they think, oh, well, they're injured. Generally speaking, the dance industry is going to do what they need to do in order to keep going. So if you say I'm okay to dance, they will put you on, and the rehearsals are going to increase, and the workload is going to increase, and you're just going to keep going and going and going and going and going, and it's not going to get better. So know how to advocate for yourself as well. Like if you're injured, you're injured. You got to take time off or reduce your workload. Any other questions, guys? Who's going to join the new Athletistry community? Let me know. Has anyone in here already joined? Because I'd like to eventually get it to the point where I do the live catch ups, but like with people on like a Zoom call, right? So that like we can jump on and have a conversation instead of you just chatting in a Instagram chat. That would be really cool. Set up a time like once a week where I jump on and answer questions and talk about stuff. I think that would be very helpful. Any other questions, guys? So another thing that can help, guys. So I don't know if you know this, but you can actually buy badges for us creators while we're doing these live videos. It's not a huge amount of money for us, but it does help to support the process. Having large followings doesn't necessarily make you a lot of money. It's just a great way to be able to help more people. Like everything that I do on here is for free. I'm not charging anyone on this platform unless you decide to join my subscription or to buy one of my programs. So most of the money I make is from private coaching and from teaching at the schools I teach at. Was it hard to get my visa? Interestingly, in some ways, yes. In other ways, no. There was some help from the company that I had been working for. They did help me through the process a bit, but as far as expenses were concerned, it was not cheap. Permanent residency visas in Australia run around $15,000, so not a cheap process, as our conversations earlier were illustrating. Things over here in Australia are very expensive. S2 dance one company. I feel like I need to translate this. How can I do that? Let's see. Give me a second, guys. I need to translate this comment because it's not going to let me do it. Are you a dancer in a company? No, not anymore. I've retired. I danced for 7 years with the Vienna State Ballet. I danced with the San Francisco Ballet for 2 years as a soloist, and then for 3 years I danced with the Queensland Ballet, both as a soloist and a principal. So I had a 12-year total career, retired at the age of 30, and then went into personal training, and then opened my own studio, and then closed that studio, took everything online, and here we are having this chat now. So yeah, from let's say from the age of 5 to now, so what am I, 36? So almost 31 years of experience in both fitness and dance, and 12 of those as a professional dancer with companies around the world. I've earned my hat, guys. I've earned my hat. Someone was saying earlier, I've paid my dues to the dance gods to be able to wear a hat if I want to. All in good fun. Actually, that's something I will pick up on. I find it fascinating. Some of the commentary that comes through on Instagram, and it does kind of highlight a quality about the dance world where you'll find, like in companies and in schools, like people will give their advice whether it's asked for or not, and they'll just kind of come up and be like, you need to do this because you're not being successful, or you need to point your feet more, or you need to wear different clothes, or you need to eat something different. And they'll just give this advice out of nowhere without it being asked for, as if they have the answers to everything. And while in some cases it's coming from a good place, other times it's actually meant to demoralize or to harm. And I think this mentality of feeling like you have to tell someone how they should be living their life or how they should be approaching their work is really unnecessary. And it comes across a little bit arrogant on social media as well, when people come on and comment, and generally without really even knowing who they're commenting to or what they're responding to. So don't do it, guys. It's not cool. Like if someone wants to wear a hat, let them wear a hat. If someone wants do bar a certain way or wear certain clothes, like let them do it. What does it do? What is it hurting? If the teacher or the authority in the space is not happy with it, they'll talk to them. But if you're not the authority, you don't need to put other people down for their choices. Any other questions, guys? Lots of people are joining still. There's more and more people joining. So if anyone has any questions, drop them in the chat. If you missed the earlier discussion about the new community, I'm just going to drop it in here again. And then you guys can go check it out. Do I play musical instrument? I don't. It's interesting. When I was a kid, I took piano lessons. And I found it really uninteresting at the time. And I think when you already have a very dedicated focus of one skill, having to then put in a lot of extra time to perfect another skill can be daunting around the age of 13, 14 years old. And so at that time, it was not my main focus. Ballet was my main focus. And so coming home after hours and hours and hours of practice, having to still do homework, having to do all these things, and then putting another half an hour to an hour of piano practice on top of that, it just didn't take for me. That being said, and we do have a keyboard at home. My daughter plays piano quite well for her age. And a lot of that has been learned now through like an iPad app. I used it for a little while, but then life it kind of takes over. I would like to get back into it again and start playing again. But yeah, I mean, I can read music, but I wouldn't say I'm a musician in that sense. But yes, music and learning music in relation to ballet is very important. I find I wish I had actually taken more focus on that as a younger person. Tips and tricks teaching younger kids to spot when starting out. Yeah, look, the spot is really just that process of learning how to isolate your head from your body. Now, this is going to probably come off I don't know, maybe as like a Vaganova mentality, but what I find when I see, especially here in Australia, where RID is the predominant methodology being taught, and the head is not turned fully to the side at the bar, we kind of get an angled headline. What we're doing there is we're limiting the amount of rotation that we're going to get in the head. And then when we go to to take them into the center and we ask them to spot their head, the amount of head rotation that they've developed is going to be less. So for me, if you're wanting to develop that ability to allow the head to turn as far as possible in opposition to the shoulders rotating and the body rotating, we need to already be developing that in an épaulement at the bar. When the leg goes front, the head goes side. When the leg goes side, the head goes front. And then when the leg goes back, the head goes side again. And using that as an opportunity to develop that connection of side, front, side, front, side, front. And then taking that into turns. Using that in the center, starting with very slow rotations of the body, keeping the head, whipping around, getting the head back to the front, making sure that it's focused so that the eyes are focusing every time they come back to the front. And then when you're developing that and starting to add in a paddle to the turn, speeding up the turn, doing those kind of basic paddle turns, and getting as fast a rotation of the body with the head spotting without getting dizzy as possible. And then as that mastery of that skill develops, then taking that into the more technical elements of actually doing a pirouette. Now, there's a whole process to developing pirouettes. You're not going to just start by going in and doing lots and lots of pirouettes. You want to first develop the position. Then you want to develop the coordination of getting into that position from a plie. Generally speaking, I would start from second position as opposed to fourth because it's a little bit more challenging to get the rotational force in the body, but you can't cheat in from a second position. You can't turn your supporting leg in to turn because you'll fall over. So I think starting from second position for pirouettes is more beneficial than starting from fourth. And then when you have developed the rotational, counter-rotational forces in the body, then we can take that into fourth position. I also think developing the balance in the position is going to be more important initially than actually getting the turn. If you can balance in the position, you can find the force. If you can't find your balance, finding the force is not going to even matter. So there you go. Long-winded answer to that question, but that's my thought process. Any tips for older folks wanting to begin? Go take classes. Find a local class that's close to you that has other adults similar age that are also wanting to learn. I ran an adult studio for nearly 2 years, and it was the most friendly, welcoming community of people I think I've ever met. Everyone wanted to improve. Everyone wanted to get better together. They all wanted to learn together. They supported each other. And, it was incredibly sad when I had to shut that down because the football club that I was at was wanting to put a gym into the space. That was really sad. I wished at that point that I had the funds to be able to open up a proper studio of my own that was not attached to the back of a football club. But as I was saying to someone earlier today, rental spaces in Australia are they're incredibly expensive. Like, we looked at a commercial space back in 2021, and the rent on the space was a 200 square meter space. The rent on the space was going to be $70,000 per year starting. So that was the first year. And then they were going to raise it up almost $10,000 a year over the course of the next 5 years. So $70,000 for the first year of rent. To get into the space, it was going to cost $30,000. On top of that, you have to buy, set up flooring, put walls in. You have to hire a contractor to build that space because it has to be done officially. You need lawyers to look over the contracts, insurances. There's all kinds of stuff that goes into starting a actual commercial studio. And while you can always go into other church halls and rent by the hour, there's limitations on the time that you can be in there. You can't necessarily put down a proper floor, so you're working with wood flooring that isn't always safe, and it's quite a challenge. And yes, my wife is reminding me that my son also loves the drums. So music is big in my family. Back to that other conversation from earlier. Music is a big part of my family. I just don't necessarily play an instrument. Need advice for best hip flexor stretch for turnout. I don't think you need to stretch your hip flexors for turnout. Realistically, turnout is going to come from strength in the external rotators of the femur. And there's a lot of different things we can do for that. Like, for example, I'll stand up, I'll show you. If you stand with your feet about shoulder width apart and you rotate your legs, that's a good place to start. Then another exercise you can do is holding on to something, bringing one leg up, turning on that leg, and then coming back without opening this knee. So turning as far as you possibly can, feeling the external rotators in the standing leg, and then coming back, doing that 10 times on each side. Once you've found that, coming into a first position, rotating the legs as much as possible so that we're trying to get the hamstrings together at the back of the leg, and then working into that plie by rotating the legs into the plie and then coming back up, not just letting the knees bend coming forward. Rotate the legs, knees go open, rotate as you're coming back up. Over time, that rotation will increase and develop, but your hip flexors don't have much to do with turnout. The hip flexor flexes the hip. So the hip flexor will help you to lift your leg, but it's not necessarily going to need to be stretched to improve turnout. Does spraining or injuring your ankle affect your ability to turn out your foot? It definitely can. If you've damaged the parts of the ankle that allow your ankle to go through eversion. So when we look at the foot, right? Please pardon my feet; they're not cleanest at the moment. But when we look at the foot, if we go out this way, we're everting the foot. This way is inverting the foot. So that what do we call it? Winging and cycling of the foot, right? They're part of that movement. And that's a part that, if your peroneal ligament, for example, like if you've strained the peroneal ligament on the outside of the ankle and there's damage there, you're not going to be able to evert the ankle as much, and as a result, you're going to end up probably not being able to turn out your foot as much, right? That being said, you shouldn't be using too much eversion to create rotation, right? Like the rotation should be coming from majority from the hips, and then following down to the knee, and then following down to the ankle. So you're not doing the majority of your work rotating from the bottom of the leg. Thank you, Evie. I appreciate that. I do what I can. I don't dance as much anymore as I used to, but that's okay. I get to teach now. Any other questions, guys? Happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you so much for all jumping into these lives. I think, you know, it's interesting sometimes, you know, like I'll see, for example, like a video that gets, I don't know, 100,000 views, and it blows my mind, right? And then I'll do a live video, and for, you know, I'll maybe get 15 or 20 people in on the live video, and I get to have kind of these little like one-sided conversations with you guys, which are fun, but they're not as in depth as I would love for them to be, because it's one-sided. It's me chatting and you guys kind of sending me a question here or there. So I would love to have more in-depth conversations, potentially even via Zoom or whatever, with people in a community kind of event, meetup kind of thing. I think that would be really cool. And, you know, maybe at some point, if the community gets large enough and we have enough people in Australia or even around the world, we could set up, you know, international community, like Athletistry meetups, right? Or get together and do a ballet class in a location or something like that. Could be really cool. Take this international. Do I like teaching boys more than teaching girls? It's different. It's a very different process. You know, I think with boys, it's a much more matter of fact, straightforward. Okay, this is what you're going to do. Let's go, boys. Let's work. I think with girls, there's a lot more explanation and diving into the understanding of things. I think, you know, we can't approach boys and girls the same way. They are different. There's a different way of communicating with different people, you know, and realistically, the most important thing about teaching is to find the best way to communicate with the person in front of you. A lot of storytelling happens when I teach girls, right? Like a lot of going back into my life experience and explaining why we're doing it this way to help them to understand what the importance is of that approach, right? Like, I think in teaching boys, it's more about, okay, guys, like we got to work. Let's do this exercise. And then, okay, this is what you got to do to get stronger here. And like, let's try it again. And I don't know, it's a different feeling. Now, what I will say about this is, I think, because I've had this come up a couple of times in conversation, like in the last 48 hours, about how there are less and less boys showing up for dance. And I think a lot of it has to do with the studios not offering dedicated boys training. My experience was that the boys had a male teacher, and we trained with that teacher for, you know, day in, day out, 6 days a week. And it was very tough, but it was a bunch of guys in a room training and pushing each other, and you know, healthy competition, healthy challenge. What I think you'll find in a lot of the smaller studios is that they have 16, 17 girls and one boy. And so that boy is kind of left to fend for himself. When they do potentially have the ability to have a partner in class, it's like 1 or 2 boys and 16 girls. And so you got this one poor guy, you know, doing 8 to 10 groups of partnering for an hour, where, you know, the girls are just kind of cycling through, you know, getting almost broken by the amount of work that he's got to do. And the girls are kind of on the side for half the class. So I think we need to start to create spaces where boys are being brought in. Now, that that was done very well at the school that I started at in California at Marin Ballet. It was when I was there, I actually, when I started, I didn't like ballet because I was that only boy. And when I was around 9, 10 years old, Mikko Nissanen, who's now the director of Boston Ballet, came to Marin Ballet and he took over as artistic director. And he brought in a couple of male teachers and he started running men's classes. And we did tricks and jumps and turns. And in addition to that, then he also brought in teachers for the other classes that we were doing that were very good at teaching technique. And so while there were the fun classes with the jumps and the turns, there were also the classes that helped us to get better at the technical elements. And the challenge of doing that combined with the fun of the tricks actually kind of fueled my love for it. And then I got opportunities to go to the Kirov, and kind of the rest is history. So I think the foot in the door with boys is we need to create a space that is going to entice them in. They want to, a lot of guys want, young boys anyway, want to do big jumps and turns, and they want to do push-ups, and they want to get stronger. And while it may even seem like a stereotype, I think a lot of fathers would like to see that as well. So there's nothing against having that space for boys, running boy-specific classes, and there's plenty of male retired dancers that would be happy to run that kind of class. So I think studios need to look at offering that, and definitely not bringing women in to run men's coaching. Have men running men's coaching and women running point class. It makes sense. Unless you've got a guy who's an excellent point teacher, but for the most part, get the women to run the point classes, get the men to run the jumps and turns. There's no reason why we can't do that. How do you improve your feet? Okay, this question. Okay, look, I think when it comes to improving feet, we have two qualities that we want to that get asked about. One is improving the strength of the foot so that it can point better and look better. The other is improving the aesthetic line of the foot. Now, you cannot change the skeletal shape of your foot. Okay, so if you don't have an incredibly high arch, you're not going to suddenly get an incredibly high arch by using foot stretchers and TheraBands. It's not going to happen. What you can do is do things like tendu. Work on developing the eversion of the ankle so that when you point your foot, you have a nice winged line to your foot. Not a flexed winged line, but a nice winged line where the foot is actually pointed, still supported, and still getting a little bit of eversion. Learning how to point all the way to the end of your toes so that you're not getting just the ankle pointing, but you're actually getting the whole foot pointed. I find a lot of dancers these days are being told to have long feet, and as a result, they're not pointing their toes, which means that they're not fully pointing their feet. I think that also potentially has some impact on the fact that we're seeing an excessive amount of stress-related injuries to the second metatarsal because the dancers that I'm seeing do not have the strength in their toes to support their landings when they first hit the floor. So, this idea of long feet and not crunching the toes, guys, we got to point our feet all the way to the end of the toes. It has to happen. If you're not doing it, start working with a TheraBand and start pointing your toes all the way. It's important. That's just my little rant about feet. Foot stretchers are unnecessary. They're not going to make your feet better. All right. Last questions, guys. If anyone has any more questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up because it's getting late here. Last thing, guys, if you do want to join that community, I know I've dropped the link a couple times, but I will drop it one more time because, I want people to join this community and I want to be able to communicate with all of you better as well. So jump on that link, join the community, check it out. It's very, like I said, it's very empty at the moment, but I will be adding videos over the coming weeks. I'll be adding more programs available, and I've got a challenge launching on April 1st. So lots of fun stuff coming, guys. Jump in there, join the community before the price goes to $5 a month. So there's like 34 spaces left before that happens. So jump in there, guys, get in there. Obviously for logistical reasons, I can't offer everything for free all the time. I gotta make a little bit of money from from my knowledge. Yeah. It cost me thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars in time and effort and work over the last 30 years to get the knowledge I have. So please join me on this journey and let's grow together. Let's keep going. Thanks guys for listening, and I will see you next time.